to have a conversation or a little class centered around how we can create loyalty with buyers. It's a challenge. It's always a challenge, but especially a challenge right now because everybody's so urgent and that they it seems to be so such such a wild market. We want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to convert every single lead. So we want to know from you guys as we go through here what you do, what tips or suggestions you have that create stickiness, that create loyalty, that help convert every buyer from a phone call to an internet to I'm meeting them at the property. Any scenarios we can think of, because I really do believe it's the little things that differentiate you from another agent, because they are not calling one agent today. They are calling a bunch of them, and the one they stick with is often the one that is different than all the others. So do you have anything to add to that, Kaylin?
No, I just, wanted to maybe suggest that with the market being the way that it is, buyers are on edge. So we have to kind of think differently and think about that differentiation. So that's kind of where I want to hear from you guys as far as little things that you might do differently that help retain them.
Anybody that didn't hear, real quick, market is down. This was about through the 10th, I think. So it's a little bit outdated, but we're going to look at this often every month just to kind of see where we're at. So earlier this month, market was down 10% in transactions. It was down 1% in volume. So the prices are still going up. Average price was $327. Inventory was down somewhere between 8 and 10%. So we kind of expect that to continue. That is transactions will not outpace last year. They will run just slightly behind last year as these rates and stuff slow it down just a little bit in number of units. Volume, we do not think will decrease. Eventually it'll plateau, but not decrease quickly. So that's why we got to be on our toes. We got to sharpen our pencil. It's the perfect time to do it too, because we're coming right into summer. I mean, the next 3 months are going to be the biggest opportunity that we have to be in front of the most people possible, and that will dictate how our fall and winter next year goes. So how do you guys want to start? What would you do? Let's just role play a little bit. What do you do to make yourself different when a call comes in? This is the interactive part. This is where we just be quiet until somebody else talks. Nobody's going to speak.
I call them.
You call them, Jeff.
Thank you.
Yeah, but they typically don't ever take your call. Like I got a realtor come. I'm on floor today, and I got a lead this morning at like 8:30 on a new listing on Ginger. Call them, no response.
Internet lead.
Yeah.
So we had an idea from past pop up that seems to be working again, because that's common that they give you. I mean, I think your answer is the best possible. When they give you a number, they're a real person. They actually want help, or they would not have given you a number. There's a lot of places that and I think sometimes there's a bad connotation with internet leads that it's a fake lead or it's not as good or whatever, but you are on their pace, so they don't have to call you back if they're not ready, but at least you call them. So that's number one. But what came up recently was, after you call them and you don't get an answer, text them a little video Hey,
Good
this
idea.
is Jeff. I just called you back. I just want to put a face with a name. I want you to know that I have access to every company's and every agent's listing here at the lake, and I'm excited to help you. So I'm ready to go to work when you are. Give me a call back at your convenience. Just real quick, because they will open it and they will keep it, and nobody else will do it.
Mm-hmm.
Good idea.
That changes the game, and I think that applies to cold, like just random calls. You know, hey, we're in the boat. How much is this property listed for? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to give them the price.
Right.
Because if I say 789,000, then I hear dial tone. Often. So I'm playing a game when they're on the phone.
You know what, Jane has said that she'll say, well, while she's process of looking up the property, because typically you don't have it up, right? She'll go, well, what do you think it's worth?
Mm-hmm.
You know, start that conversation going, right? To get their ideas. I don't use that very often, but I've tried to.
I think that's beautiful. I mean, I used to play such a game. I don't do it anymore, but I don't get a chance to anymore. But I used to go, oh my gosh, my computer's not up. Just in case we get disconnected, is this the best number to call you on? I'm turning my computer on right now. I want to get this going. Tell me where exactly you are, and then oh, we're at the 21-mile marker. Now, what side of the lake are you on? Oh, we're on the Osage Beach side. Okay, yeah, I think I know which one that is. I almost got my computer up. You know what? I think I heard of another one coming. Another home there that's coming up soon too. I'm just planting seeds that they don't know, before I get to the property itself. Because I just want to have conversation with them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a game. I really do.
Yeah.
And it's an important one.
So this is for like little things that we do as like a buyer's agent, right? To kind of get them to stay working with us and not anyone else, right? Like that's what we're kind of discussing here.
Seriously, and it is little things, Thomas, because the difference between, I mean, you line 10 different agents up, that group that's on that boat is not calling one time that day.
Mm-hmm.
They're having fun with it. They're calling. They're real. They're going to bond with someone. So what's going to be the one that outshines the other 9?
So far, the feedback I've got has been my communication skill, answering my phone when it rings or calling them immediately back, not hours later.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because that was something that I was going to say, that we need to pay attention to right now with buyers is, answering your phone. But not only that, like, make sure your voicemail isn't full. Make sure that, you can actually get messages, if you are with another client or something. Like, I see that all the time.
I think the voicemail box, if that's full, that's like the kiss of death.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can anticipate a scam or a robocall, because these buyer calls are coming from everywhere. I mean, and they also have access to your number. If you're on Zillow or some syndicated site, don't think they don't have access, because I mean, we pick the poison, so our cell numbers are out there forever. Just anticipate that it. Just feel, just be open to it possibly being a buyer, and answer every single one of them without screening them. Because Thomas, to your point, I think being available and being the fastest, I mean, that's for sure on internet leads, because they just have no patience. It probably trumps knowledge 2 to 3 to 1. They're going to take whoever's available.
That's been the feedback I've gotten so far.
If they do a good job.
Gosh, I've talked to so many other realtors, and like nobody is as quick to get back to a text message or a phone call as you are so far. So,
but boy, I will tell you, like Jeff, Winters just pointed out about what Jane does, there is a difference between how some handle that first interaction and how others, I have been guilty when I'm busy of being distracted and short and not and forgetting the potential on the other end of the line. And we just, this is a great time of year to start over because it is a big deal.
It's a good time to like look at your presentation too, and the little things that you are doing. Like, is anybody using like a buyer questionnaire? Like, do we even have time for that right now? When you get them on the phone, like
I have one also that I use. I use it on the phone, and then I will also, even if they don't answer their email, the second email that I send out will have that in it. Hey, I could use a little additional information to help me find what you need, and then I send that file with it too. So,
awesome.
yeah, it's a great thing to use.
Mm-hmm. I have one too.
I think I don't know how it can't do anything but help. I mean, just remind you the questions to answer. And Gene, you reminded me of something that I've done before that just will blow people's mind. While you're on the phone with them, offer to send them the trends.
Mm-hmm.
Offer to send them the little, like if they're looking at lakefront properties, guys, while I'm looking this property up, I'm sitting here at my computer. I have a breakdown in price point of all sales of lakefront properties, and it's really interesting. I can email that to you right now. Is that okay? What's your email? I mean, the more we can be different than the other agents out there. No, I don't think people are, offering that kind of stuff, and I think it's really important. Man, I really have to work on my background. Look at Amber's background. That's awesome, Amber. I like that wall behind you.
Thanks, my little office here.
I love it. So calls are just one point, and calls are super important. But anything that video after you're off the phone with somebody, you have a good conversation that's quick. If you follow that up and text them a little bitty video of yourself, your conversion rate is going to go through the roof because nobody's doing that. Mm-hmm. Hey, thanks so much for calling. If there's anything else you guys go by in the boat today, I can I'm here. I'll have my computer ready. I can send you any information on any agents or companies, listings. Something like that puts a face to a name that you can just text video them so that they're likely to remember you the next time they call. I think that's little, but it's super, super important.
To expand on that too, like I think that going back to some information that we got from R4, every buyer deserves a video too. So even when you have a secured buyer, I think that they still deserve a video out to your database, SOI group, other agents. I have this buyer looking for this. I think that's a big game changer too. And I don't see a lot of people doing that either.
I forget about it, but you're right. You can continually touch base with those people without taking much of your time, but just to let them know you're thinking about them. And you're looking every day. I think that's a great point. How do we, like for meeting people face to face, like in an open house, how do you convert buyers at an open house?
Well, you have your sign-in list.
How do you get them to sign it?
As soon as they come in, just ask them. And most will. Most have no problem with signing it. I have a spot on there if they're working with an agent already or not working with another agent.
That's a good idea.
Even still, they'll usually give you some type of information so you can contact them back. Or if they're, while you're in that conversation, you ask them if there's what they're looking for. How long are they here for? Are they local? Stuff like that. Just like you said, Jeff, just strike up the conversation and find out where they're at in their buying process.
What about when they say, "Oh, we're just looking. We're just here browsing."
Oh, yeah. And then you just, okay, well, is there something certain you're looking for? Put your information down here and I'll get back to you right away. And we'll see what we can find for you.
I used to give them a little time. That's great, man. I'm glad you guys came out. Take a look around. I'll be right here. Answer any questions you have, but feel free to look around. Appreciate you coming. And then give them a little bit of time, and then I'm going to bring them something. I love Jane Kelly's give before you get. You always give before you get. And if you, no, it's really hard for somebody to turn you away when you come back into that room and you say, hey, have you guys got any questions? I did want to share something with you that I actually do for my clients commonly. And it's just a breakdown of real estate transactions. You know, we do it in several different property types, lakefront, condos. Would you guys be interested in something like that? I mean, if you're offering without any catches or any strings, there's a reason they're in that open house. They're not in that open house to waste time. You've just got to gain their trust. And I think if you give before you get, it makes it a lot easier on you to do that. And then you can follow that up. So do you guys currently own at the lake? Do you have a place already? And then lots of times they'll open up their dialogue. I think for me, what made the open houses easier is the preparation that came before the open house. And we've been talking about that a lot. If they go into 3 or 4 or 5 open houses, what is going to make you look different than the other open houses they've ever been in before? Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's rocket science, but I think the more information you have available based on the property type that you're sitting in and where those buyers could come from, the more it's going to really change the way they look at you.
Yeah, the more armed and prepared you are, the better that you have a chance of converting.
How about during an initial meeting with the buyers? You're actually meeting them. You got them to meet you at a property or in your office. Carol, you flashed. Your screen flashed.
I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to talk.
Well, I can. Yeah, my buyer. I just met with one yesterday, actually, but sometimes they're just interviewing you personally.
Yep.
To see where you come from, your background, and that really, honestly, just happened to me yesterday. And then I ended up showing a nice property to them, but yeah.
That's a great, that is something I think that's like a listing. Like you go to a listing, mm-hmm. and we should never go to a listing thinking that they're not interviewing. We should always go to a listing with the opinion or with the, with the thought that, hey, there's 3 people coming behind me and this, I'm being interviewed. Cause I think you're right. I think every buyer does that too.
Mm-hmm.
I've
had several buyers do that. They like to interview you almost.
I think the most savvy ones, that's exactly what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And why not? Because they got a lot of choices today. Mm-hmm. How's that agent going to bring me value? The first and foremost thing I personally think is choose to be an optimist.
Yep.
There is lots of negative Nelly stuff going on. And one way to differentiate is to be excited about the market and excited where you live and not say the normal things that they might be thinking or they might be used to hearing.
Mm-hmm. I was also going to say it's a great opportunity for another video text. Like I've seen a lot of agents have success with sending them a text before the meeting and saying, oh, I'm so excited to see you at 10 o'clock. What's your favorite coffee? Can I grab it for you? Just something like that too is a great opportunity.
That's a great idea. Well, we've heard inventory is really tough. Well, actually, that's what a lot of people think. But honestly, there is more coming onto the market than almost at any time ever. It's just that it's selling faster. So actually, there's a lot out there. I just need to be able to get you ready when the right property comes. I need to spend time to learn what you're after. Talk about things like that, or be optimistic about that. Be ready to assure them that it's okay, and that this is something that you deal with every day. That is not the norm that they're going to be used to hearing or thinking. The have opportunities or have ways that they can get financing ready.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you talk about the little things, like your ability to give them information on any other companies and any other agents listing, like your secret, your secret private Facebook group that's
Yep.
going to get them opportunity at listings nobody else will see
Before it hits the market sometimes.
Right. And because I think that sometimes that stuff, it's little bitty, but it sometimes goes without talking about. We know it's there and we know we want to utilize it, but we don't tell that buyer right out of the gate. And we're missing an opportunity to create value, to make them stay with us, not question us. So I would really lean on that kind of stuff. Lean on how many agents we have, the market share we have, and how often I get to see and put things in front of the buyers that I work with that nobody else knows about. Only my company. I think that's a big deal today.
What about more like conversations and conflict? Like, I know with the market conditions, some buyers are really frustrated before they even, start really talking to you. I mean, you might get a phone call for a lead that's just initially abrasive. Like, what are you hearing? How are you diffusing that? I think that's a really good point right now to talk about, especially for new agents.
What do you guys think about that?
Funny, I had one yesterday. I was on a listing appointment, and one of the neighbors pulled up, being nosy, wanted to see what was going on, and then looked at me, says, "Hey, when is this going to stop? When is the bottom going to fall out of this market and the prices going to drop?" And I said, "Well, I'm sorry," I said, "but we really don't see any bottoms falling out, any bubbles bursting." I said, "What we see is that, yes, prices may level out. They're not going to rise like they did probably in the last 2 years. But if you think about it, all the things going on, the value of what's in your home, your appliances," I says, nothing's going to change. The lake was underpriced for a lot of years, and if you check it out with the markets across the nation, you're going to find out that we might still be a little bit underpriced, but we're not going to rise at 20% like we did in the first 2 years.
That's good, Gene.
Oh, I love it, Gene. I think we got to be really prepared to answer that. I think that's going to be the most common concern and question that we answer.
Keeping Current Matters came out with an article that I shared on Facebook this morning. I thought it was really good. It was how buying or selling can help the community and the economy. And it had some pretty good leveraging points to it too. You guys should look at it.
So many people are hanging on that wish that, okay, I didn't get in on it in time to buy it, so now I'm going to wait for it to drop again, and then I'm going to get in there and buy it. And the media doesn't help us any. The media puts out these, what do you call them, the big headlines. When's the bubble going to burst? Well, until you read the whole article, you don't realize that in that article, they're telling you it's not going to burst.
Right.
But they're making you think that it's going to burst. So everybody's sitting back and waiting. And that's, like Jess said, we have to have that conversation with them and let them know that, no, it's probably not going to happen.
It's, the media is hammering fear in every different direction right now. And so many people are going to be affected by that. We're going to have to really be prepared to talk about that. I just came out of a closing this morning with Central Bank was the lender, and I was talking with Brian Gagnon, and he was saying that the bank was expecting another rate increase yet this year. So they were going to do that. But then I said, so when you look out, how long is that going to, he said, well, we're expecting another one yet this year, and then it's going to stay about the same. And then they expect in 2 years they're going to start moving it back down. Now that's the first time I've heard somebody speak to interest rates out that long. And who knows? I mean, I think there's so many variables you can't say, but when somebody says, well, what about these interest rates? Well, good question. But do you realize in the last 30 years, the average has been 7.2%, 7.3%. So we're actually under the last 30-year average. So the rates, they're definitely trying to penalize the second home buyers because they're changing the programs to make it a little more challenging. But we're not seeing it slow here. I would just speak to that and be very open and optimistic about what we're seeing in our area and the exposure. I talk about that a lot because it's true. The exposure of Lake of the Ozarks has changed the game big time. We were behind the values of other second home markets, and we still are. The stuff that we think is high today, they don't think, even north, even when they come from Minnesota or Great Lakes, it's not just the coast buyers that think we're reasonable. It's all compared to other second homes, we are still really undervalued.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be caught in that bubble. I think it's easy to tell stories about that.
What other issues are you guys facing buyer wise? I know there's some. I know it.
So as a new agent, I think I've realized that what's on the market right now, at what you can say competitive price, is going to have challenges with the property, right? So I've learned that just because you get an accepted offer, you still need to be continually building your team. And what I mean by that is making sure that you have a recommended inspector list. Also, even after the inspection, I was able to keep a deal together, lakefront property on KK, because I had a built team kind of from flipping houses over the last couple of years of guys that could go out there immediately before it's dead in the water and give them a realistic expectation on what an estimate to fix this not so big problem. Everything is fixable. And I think as a new agent, that was challenging for me to wrap my head around with buyers to keep that deal together, because, water in the basement for somebody that's only lived in new homes their whole life is a total catastrophe to them, when it's very common here at the lake and it can be fixed. I'm not talking about a flood, but, a sump pump that's not working. So just basically building your team, having resources on hand to help you keep that deal together. And what they already consider overpaying for a property, when they consider overpaying for a property, they're looking for the first out normally on that deal. They're constantly talking themselves out. So that was a good learning curve for me. And it was a tough process, but I learned a lot in that process.
I'm so happy that you brought that up, Matt, because that was an example I was thinking about yesterday, where Thomas had kind of did that with some of his clients and got his team to go out to the property and, do some stuff before they got it listed. But the other thing that I think, just to take it a step further, is thinking about your interaction or relationship that you're working with that other agent. Being able to be that agent that's coachable, even to get them on your side. That's a huge point, and it's something little that not a lot of agents, I think about, but strengthening that entire team around you, especially during a transaction, I think that's huge right now.
Okay. So there's two things, Matt, that was big. So when I watch other agents that do a really good job, that's exactly what they do. And not only are they able to do it in the moment when it's time, they also tell their buyers way up front what they do. and the access to all those vendors, they kind of condition them to be able to handle the things that are going to come up ahead of time, because they know that, and they talk about all those things way ahead of time, so that so that when the bad septic report comes, the people don't freak out, and they do it in a very calming, I got you type manner, over and over, sometimes like different times during the process. And to your point, Kaylin, I think that you're right. I think that the best agents anticipate the problems even coming from the other side and try to get that other agent on their side so their buyer can win. And then so that other agent they make sure that other agent is as prepared as possible to help on the other side of the transaction, kind of without that other agent even knowing what they're doing.
Right.
That's huge. Not the whole holding deals together is sure hasn't went away. I mean, I can think of, I don't know, time, all kinds of examples daily, weekly of that, of seeing the importance of holding the deal together. So thanks for bringing that up, Matt.
Anything else? Buyer side struggles, needs.
So as a new agent again, working with buyers, right? So I think that I learned really early to determine a buyer that's an executor and a buyer that it's very important to build huge rapport with, because an executor buyer is like, hey, this is the property, this is where I want to go. So I spend more time just diving into that single property because they've already done their homework. Then the buyer that says, hey, I'm interested in lakefront property, they don't have any real properties in mind. I'm going to spend a lot more time building rapport, because the chances are they're probably not just calling you if they're just beginning their search. So I think I've gotten better at that, and I was able to convert a couple buyers that way as well.
How do you identify them?
So usually my executor buyers have been the folks that already know a lot about a single property, right? They have determined this is the weekend I can be there, and I'm not a stranger to sell, so I can kind of feel that, they're coming down here to make an offer, right, on this property. I call that the executor buyer. Yes, rapport is still very important, but they're almost like looking at you like, man, I'm using you to make this transaction happen. I could really care less about what kind of guy you are. I've got one day to be down there. I've got one day to make an offer on this property. And then you get the internet leads or the phone calls that are, hey, I want to begin my search for lakefront property. And they don't have a lot of knowledge of the area. So you've got that rapport, and selling yourself, I feel like, is huge with those folks, because if you show them the first day and you haven't built that rapport, honestly, they're going to move on. They're like, I don't even like being in the car with this guy.
Matt, is there anything specifically that you do to differentiate yourself? Like when you're trying to build that rapport with that particular example?
Yeah, I spend a lot more time selling myself in the process with a looker, right, than the executor. The executor is all about, he's wanting you to act more like his legal representative, right? I could care less how many kids you have. I want to know about this property, and I want to know the lowest price I can get it at. Let's start the ball.
So typically, I mean, there's going to be a commonality often with the personalities of those types of people. That executor buyer that you're calling is typically going to be a D type personality, and they want it done now. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. The urgency is a lot more upfront. But you can create the urgency with the looker as well, with your statistics, breaking the statistics out right away and saying, I can turn a looky-loo into an executor pretty fast. It's just sometimes you run into their beer budget with champagne dreams.
Correct. Right. Yeah, but you have more time to foster the relationship with the latter. The executor buyer, you better be prepared to deliver value right away, or it's going to be transactional, and all you're going to do is be subject to they're going to not see as much value and representation from you if you're not good at knowing your own value. A lot of that is how you speak to them, how quickly you can respond to them, and how you respond to them, so that you're in a so that you demonstrate your value very quickly. And there's a little bit there's quite a little talent to that. It's hard to I think identifying it like you did is really good. Separating the ones that have researched the property, they know exactly what they want, and they just need you to make that deal. And then versus the other folks, we didn't see that much of that in years past. I mean, that's just been the last couple years. Prior to that, it was more of fostering the relationship. That's been a real condition of this market that it's just really evolved. And I mean, we didn't often have people buying things sight unseen and pulling the trigger immediately and knowing what they were, being that committed before they ever got to the point. So I'm glad you brought that up. The other thing I want to say about that, Matt, is it's really crucial that no matter where you're at in this game, whether you've been in it 10 years or brand new, that you realize the importance of cold buyers, cold leads, lukewarm leads, and hot leads. It takes them all. And buyers are liars. And that sounds terrible, but it's true. They don't know. They can tell you they will not buy until next year and change their mind next month. So right now we have a window where we're going to get in front of a whole lot of people. We need to figure out how we're going to get in front of a whole lot of people. And we need to build that list, even if it's, the majority of percentage is cold contacts or colder contacts, because that's what's going to come to life later. Obviously prioritize those right now folks, but at the same time, don't ignore the other ones or fail to get them in a database where you can communicate with them. Susan Ebling brought up an example yesterday I thought was really good, and she's really good at this. And I noticed the trend with Mel too, and my radar is not that good, but she said it this way. She said that, and this is kind of, she utilizes it with all her people, but I really see her utilize it with generating referrals from past clients or past buyers. 80% of the conversations she has with them, or 90, has nothing to do with selling them something. It has everything to do with how she can help them. And she will literally just touch base with people just to see if there's anything they need. Is there any vendor you need? Do you need any help with any of your boat dock stuff or insurance stuff? Just anything I can help with. And she had a very he's a high up professional, and he commented to her the other day. He said, I used you as an example to my agents, because he's in sales too. And he said, I told him that when you call me, you are asking how you can help me. You're not trying to sell me anything. You're just going through a list of needs, and do I need any help with anything? And he said, I told my people that is why I'll never forget you. I thought, boy, that's a big deal. I mean, that's not the same as converting immediate buyers, but it's people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that is,
well, it's a way to make them sticky too. I mean,
sure.
I feel like it's to that point that I think Buffini was making, or somebody was making, about how the relationship actually starts after closing,
Yeah. And I mean, I think you can weave that in early on to be different. You could tell them about your vendor list and tell them the stories like Matt just talked about, the place on KK, and holding that together those are the things that are going to make them, when you're not with them anymore, that's going to make them talk about you and remember you. So it just can't go unnoticed, for sure. Won't go unnoticed. Anybody got anything else? I know we took a lot of time already, 40 minutes. Crazy. Appreciate you guys.
Hope this was helpful.
Have a great day. Have a good weekend if we don't talk. See ya.
Yep. Thank you guys.